So welcome everyone to the LinkedIn Power Lab webinar. Today is the last day in January already. The first month is over, and I thought at this early part of the year, it's great to look into the content strategy for LinkedIn. And I would like to guide through what I prepared for today. So overall, for those who don't know me yet, and I think Lady and Andre, you didn't join too often yet, if at all. So my name is Gunnar. I'm a social media consultant. I'm writing about social selling nearly every Monday. I created 2 online courses about LinkedIn and social selling, and I published a couple of books. So what I would like to have for this session here, I muted everyone. So if you want to talk, you can, but I would actually prefer if you could use the chat. Yeah, that is the best way, because I also will ask a couple of questions. The recording will be made available afterwards on linkedinpowerlab.com, and you will get a notification precisely 12 hours afterwards, including the link to the slides and the recording. So let's get started into the topic of content. So I put it into 3 types of subtopics. And for those who are following my webinars for a while, you might remember that often these 3 topics start with the same letters. First, we look into the purpose, or defining what actually matters. Then prepare how to select your material for social media. And I try to find pictures that support that a little bit. And then we also have here the topic of publishing. So that means actually how you can manage and analyze what you put out there beforehand, because it should fit into the whole strategy. So I hope that makes sense for all of you. So then let's get into these topics, and I will have 3 questions to ask you, each one of them for those topics. So let's get started on the area of the purpose. And you can see this lady is sitting there of thinking about the big thing what matters to her. So therefore I would like to ask you, and I will write it in the chat, what is the most important, or what is most important without the, for you as a professional? So typical answer would be any type of purpose. So a purpose can be to serve or heal customers. Let me write this to everyone, not only to one person. So one of the purpose would be not repurpose, but purpose to serve or to heal customers. Another one would be, I ask you, Belle, Andre, Lady, Olin, what is the purpose, what you do? And I know, Olin, you're already retired, so for you it's a little bit different, but as a professional. So what is your purpose? Companies seem to have it easier, and I can get you some example on the topic, but it's actually not that easy, because you need to put it out there. I remember some companies would say to create the infrastructure to run the world, like a train company. Anyone writing in the chat anything? I'm not reading too much yet. I see some of you typing, but it's not easy to define that. So let me show you something that I look here, Lady, help clients develop and grow. Yes, now they come. Well, to serve my clients through offering them healing sessions, which may help them with their anxieties or health needs. Yes. So your business purpose is the reason you have formed your company, boiled down to a single sentence or 2. And it's more than to pursue any and all legal business activities. I found that somewhere, I found it rather funny, but normally to really describe that. And the purpose for me is what stands at the top. And everything like content should fit into this purpose in a certain way. So let me get this topic a little bit further. Beyond the purpose, below that, you have somewhere the vision and the mission. They're critical to the success of your business, of the purpose, but they're not the purpose. So Google's mission, for example, is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. It's a bit more the mission, what they would like to achieve, but not necessarily the purpose as such. the purpose for them is rather to be there in order to achieve that. And then the third of these topics would be the values. And the values, they describe the morals, the ethics, and the ideals that are important to your company. So for example, Google could have said that their mission, I mean, what we read there, but they would have a completely different way how they could achieve that in terms of their morals and ethics. They could say, we create a browser and everyone can copy and steal from it. Or they can say, our values is to have a proper ethic that nobody is paying too much for all of the advertising, whatever is there. But usually values are more. Companies can have 6 or 10 values. And it is extremely difficult, particularly for small businesses, to really describe which would be the right one, how to act on that. And there's material about it, and I have a link at the end for that. But why I put this here is, if I'm a small business owner, I would like to share content, somehow it should fit into the big picture. And the big picture has a purpose, it has vision, mission, and values somewhere there, and all somehow comes together. So that means if I'm, for example, in the area of social media and technology, that's good. But I would write something that fits into the purpose of, let's say, advancing social media as the world's #1 communication channel, what I would say in direction of my purpose. But if I would then talk about something totally off target, then that would be very strange. So it should somehow fit into that one, which makes hopping from one industry to the other quite difficult, because a personal brand takes time until people realize that. And of course, there are certain values that you can describe by the selection of your content very well. So for example, taking one of you, which actually is Bell. So for you, you would often have something, the content that you share is often energizing and rather looking into getting a good feeling, good atmosphere, instead of something provocative. So then, because that fits into your values and those fit into overall the purpose as you just wrote, so then that somehow fits together. So what can we do with that? So when we define this and would like to break it down further, then we need to define the goals, particularly what do we want to achieve with our content. And typically goals are SMART. For those who don't know, SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. That's how most companies also describe goals. And there's a little booklet here from HubSpot, and there comes a link about that. So have a look here. So examples. Ras is joining as well, so that's good. Like that. So example of SMART marketing goals. And I'm also welcoming actually a marketing professional, which is Ras from Fusion Brand. Hi Ras, good to have you there. So examples for these SMART type of marketing goals as described, for example, by HubSpot. I want to lose weight and I will do it by eating a healthy diet, exercising 30 minutes a day, and going to the gym 3 times a week. Extremely measurable, attainable. It's not like losing 20 kilos or so. It's relevant and it's time bound. So that's a good example for that one. And your content, if you put it based on content, you can create this as well together. And I'll show one more marketing related example shortly, but let's look here, more the corporate one. I want to get promoted in my company, so I will start doing this, whatever activity, each day or week. And you put something very relevant in that. So let's say I would want to get promoted in my company, so I will start, let's say, working longer, or no, need to decide what longer, or also to over-deliver my customers, or do some research, whatever it is each day, that can fit into a promotion. Or now more relevant into our space on digital marketing. Let me read it. I want to grow the number of leads generated per month from our blog to 120 per month, because our sales teams find that blog leads convert to customer at 3 times the rate of leads from pay-per-click advertising. I will reach 120 blog leads generated per month by 6 months from today. more detailed, a lot of numbers, measurable, extremely specific, it's attainable, and also it has the time bound in there. So coming from overall purpose of serving customers apparently, how that is written, and that person recognized that when salespeople convert 3 times more of blog-related content compared to pay-per-click advertising, then as a consequence, this person says how many blog leads should be generated per month, which is the target to then say, okay, I need to create a content strategy that fits into this target of 120 blog leads per month. That's a lot actually, but it's measurable, particularly when you then work with experts like Ras, you are one. So these are the way how you can make these goals smart. So for example, if somebody would say, I would like to find one new client coming from LinkedIn who talks to me or who's interested into my healing activities, but that would be from your side. And you would normally have whatever conversion of people who like and comment on your content. And out of them, you would know how many you convert to become a paying client. Then if you have these parameters, then you would know how many posts you will need to do. It has a lot to do with mathematics, of course. So here's goal template, how to determine your smart marketing goals, which is sitting in there. And you can download that from HubSpot. I think it makes sense to create content based on overall purpose, vision, mission, values, and then the goals. And based on that, as a consequence, you need to create content instead of I can create content. It's not a book to buy, but as you ask, it's something just to download on that link. So no need to pay for that. So, and of course, if it's talking about content, you need to know which are the right people who should read and engage on that content. And I always see 6 persona groups. And I'm keen on the feedback from the others, particularly from Ras, how you see that. So first of all, who do you would like to engage in our content? Our existing clients, because for them, you will, for these existing clients, you will have the chance, if you serve them well, to get testimonials. So that's important. Number 2, prospects, the target future customers, often seen as the most important type of audience, those who you want to serve in the future. That's good. But I remember statistics when I've been in marketing that it costs 13 times more to win a new customer compared to serving more your existing customers. So from the existing clients, you get testimonials that you can use as a kind of use them as an advocate, and they can bring you warm leads, warm prospects compared to cold ones. So that's good. The third group for me are suppliers. Not that I like the term, I would rather take them as partners. So give an example. Let me take Ras, for example. Ras, you have a marketing agency, you do very clever things for your clients, and you use, of course, software. If you would use, take example, HubSpot, where I took the other slide from, then of course you are keen also to have people of HubSpot in your network. When you have a partnership with them, what I actually don't know if you have, but imagine, then of course you are keen to be in that ecosystem of HubSpot, because there you can also find good people, not just to have paying customers, but also those who can also multiply your network. That's an important thing. So therefore, suppliers, take them as partners. Take the person who provides leather, who would take this leather to the shoemaker. As a leather factory, I'm keen to know what my end customer, the shoemaker, is actually doing. If that shoemaker is doing well, and I can help him being well, then he orders more leather from me in that more medieval type of example. Next one here, persona research number 2. And Ras, I'm very, very sorry. I cut down this picture. You would sit actually right from that blonde lady. Next time I need to move the focus a little bit. Sorry, mate. So then the other one are the supporters, which are those, let's say, adjacent professionals in your industry, not your customers. They don't buy from you but you know them well because they somehow are in that whole area. So if you are a healer and you might some in adjacent areas like yoga teachers that can work well together. If you're a yoga teacher and you would know people which are physiotherapists, that might be good as well. So to potentially even work together and share practice rooms, whatever it is, support us. That's an important topic as well. Yeah. So then the next one would be influencers. And typically the word influencer comes from those, maybe these fashion ladies that you see on Instagram. Like this one here, Nicole from New Zealand, in my hometown in Switzerland, on her fantastic travel blog. But for me, an influencer is someone who's an expert in their field, let's say for industry associations. For example, I am a member of the Institute of Managers and Leaders. So then for me, everyone around there in that IML Institute who is influencing the management profession, that would be one. Or let's say, Ras, from your marketing side, the Australian Marketing Institute, there you would find people who are known as experts in their field. That's what I mean is influencers, who can say what's really, really important there. And people are following them. Can be professors in university context, in research context, for example. And then the last one are your market companions, also called as competitors. I would like to know what type of content they have, what type of purpose they follow. And very often we see this in the area of smaller businesses that professionals say, I would like to be different. I would like to be more than the overall regular way of doing business. But if the customer needs a plumber, it can be that the plumber also sells some other stuff, but at the end, the core service should still be there. So these are my typical 6 areas of persona research that makes sense to find out what type of content do they like, how they engage on it. If they publish, when do they do this? Particularly those supporters, if they talk about events, the adjacent professionals, does it make sense that I participate in those type of events, webinars, whatever it is? Because I could reach my network and make it broader. And content helps me on that. So that's why getting people from these 6 groups in our own content, in our own network is critical. And it doesn't matter which social media platform it is, or if social at all. It can also be just normally on the digital side, not on the social side. So that was the first part of today. Coming to the second P, which is all about prepare. Find out what type of content. So let's look. As usual, one question to you. Let me type it in the chat. Where do you research ideas for your content? Big question. It doesn't matter what type of content, but where do you look out for that? There was another question from Ben. How does one work out which is the best social platform to find your clients? Depends the industry. As a LinkedIn trainer, I would say not only LinkedIn, but rather Facebook, of those who are not on LinkedIn yet, because only 31% of people who are on Facebook are also on LinkedIn, newest statistics. So it really depends on that. But let's look into this question. Where do you research ideas? So keen to see. So in my case, I look into medium.com, inc.com, social media today. Ras, you say answerthepublic.com. Good one. I like that. Need to look into this one. BuzzFeed, bingo, good one. Yeah, I will have a list of this myself, what I put on. Yeah, so well, let's get further into this topic of researching ideas for the content, and which social media channel, depending the industry, is something very specific, not too broad. So I rather look into content and content strategy today. So I know then you look into Medium as well. So let me show you a little bit in that regard. And to find the source of content and to publish what type of content has kind of thoughts we need to have in mind. I'd rather you will love that here. So let's put out some important terms. If you take the customer on a buying journey from you do not know him until they're your best advocates, first they are a lead. Even when they are a testimonial from your best mate and they say, hey, you need to work with them, still at the beginning they are a lead. That's an interest from someone. Typically as a one-way communication that they have some interest. You would say there might be a marketing qualified lead and then a sales qualified lead. Some come in from an inbound side, some you find yourself that would be outbound. And here's a very well-known term called ICA, and that means the ideal customer avatar. Not all leads are your typical avatar. So if you would describe it, my ideal customer avatar is a lady 35 to 45 living there, married to kids or whatever, and then has therefore certain characteristics. It could be if you target them that you get also potential customer around there, but the better you focus on your ideal customer, or maybe as second ideal as well, the better it works. So that's a lead, and the lead becomes a prospect. When you engage with them, then it is a validated two-way communication of a lead. You advance them in the next step in the funnel management, and of course you drive nurturing activities. And that prospect can become an opportunity as soon as you put a dollar value in that. So the funnel topic here looks like this. A funnel is always like that. There are different ways how you can call them. And rather when you learned marketing and I learned marketing back then when we've been in the same company, you would have different type of words like AIDA, for example, for the different type of terms. I put it here as awareness, evaluation, acquisition, engagement, and advocacy. The reason for this, first, someone is aware they have a problem. That's a good thing to do. They might evaluate if there is a solution out there. Where do they search for that? Who do they talk to? Maybe not yet to a provider or supplier of that, but maybe in the ecosystem. They research on social media. Hang on, here we are. And then they search reviews. Does it make sense to go with this or that company or person? And then they look into how they can get that piece, whatever they want, or a service. And once they have it, then they can engage with that. And when they are happy, they also become a good advocate for that. And you see that funnel graphic here. Top of the funnel is more the marketing side of things, the middle of the funnel, the sales process, and then to become a customer. So I always say, if you would like to have, let's say that you would like to get $10,000 a month, meaning if you sell a $1,000 product, you need to have 10 of them per month. It's typically 4 weeks in a month, meaning you need to have 2.5 of these customers per week. So then you can calculate backwards. When you know how many you convert through the funnel, then you know how many you need to get in at the top. And that often starts with content. But you use different type of content during the buying journey. I think the worst thing is when you have a person who's interested and who's really engaging and finds out ways how they can get this product or service, and you would still send them emails which are meant for the very top part of the awareness. So you need to ensure that you have content, maybe general one regards to social media, for example, but then when you talk to people directly, maybe on direct messaging, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, doesn't matter. So then you give them different pieces of content that you might not share in public on social media, but as they go further into the process of evaluating and potentially acquiring a service, then you share with them different pieces of content, which are for that for that journey of it. So, but what type of content do we have? And that is often a tricky one. Many professionals, I think majority, they share something on whatever way, but if they want to get from a more tactical approach, or at least not a strategic one, to a proper strategy, they need to check what's there. And Ras, you are one of those who can help them. Let me look what I would come up with from today. So first, if I wanted to get more strategic about that, I would look what I already have anyway. The printed collaterals that I have, the business cards which are there, the messaging out on that, on the flyers, some documents. Maybe I have contractual type of agreements, anything where is something useful to take it further. My website, a blog, whatever I have been blogging in the past can be repurposed, maybe updated. Our own social media posts from the past, you only need to keep them and collect them, which is not a big thing. Easier on LinkedIn than on Facebook. Then customer testimonials. Somebody sends you something nice about it, or even they share on social media that they're happy. Grab that, copy it, screenshot that, use it. And then also the exchange you have with other people. When they say, oh, I like that, that was a good idea. Gunnar, you helped me a lot. Somebody said one day, then I try to grab that. And then if I wanted to reuse it as a statement or customer quote, of course, I need to ask for permission. But that is content you have, internal. So you check what you have. And then let's look external. You look into industry publications. You might get them anyway. When Ras and I have been both working at HP back in the days, so then we've been working with resellers. So then we always got the Australian Reseller Network, ARN, for example, all these publications for that particular industry. Same with everyone, whatever the profession is. You look and follow maybe, or you're a member of institutions. They can have very high level, polished type of stuff, like the Australian Institute of Company Directors or whatever they want to do. The people you follow, what type of content do they have? Or the content from other stakeholders of these 6 groups that I've had. Online magazine, and I mean something like Forbes, Inc.com, all of this one. For example, here is a question from Bell. How would you use the industry publication to help you with client building? I say here, content audit. Check what content is there. What does make sense to use? I'll give you an example on an industry publication. When I've been in risk management and I followed certain institutions about it, so then I took from the printed magazine, which came out with new research, I wrote articles about that. I posted about it. That's a new piece of research which is out now from, let's say, from Deloitte, risk management or crisis management, and then I share what's in there. I share my take about it. I show that I am well researched about what's going on in my industry. That's about it. I can even run interviews and write about posts on that one, in the sense of I talked with these professor, whatever the name from that particular university, talking about whatever it is, what I just got published, and then we cover certain topics. And that gets me in the view of those who follow that industry. And of course, social media content, which is out there from all of those people. So check what's there. First one, internal is what you have, but then the second one, what's out there anyway. But you only need to find it. But we can think broader, the content audit. You can apply social listening. Social listening per se is a way that you first look what exists and does not exist before you write content. Best example for me, when I write about the Sydney Opera House performances for a magazine in Vienna, I need to, of course, know what's out there. I don't just write about the performance. I need to read a lot about it beforehand. What were the challenges to put the production on with COVID these days? How does it work here compared to other countries? What is the specialty of this particular Phantom of the Opera open air performance this year compared to the other one that we had? All of this kind of stuff, and I need to do this maybe on a certain time frame that I figure out. That's all what I research about it. You can apply social listening by principle. If you're a corporation, you can even have this by software who does that. And the good thing about that and social listening, you get the sentiment. If a topic, a term, a brand has a positive sentiment or turns negative, that you can all get by that. If we want to do it by ourselves, we can look into things that we follow to figure out what's out there. Twitter does this very well. I can follow people or content on Twitter and have Twitter list. If I share that I'm following, for example, HB, where I worked so long, then Ras would see this on my Twitter account. But I can also have a list which is hidden. And that's the way how I get in my Twitter feed topics that are currently talked on by my competition. Very good. And Twitter is not just a tool for Donald Trump anymore. Twitter now goes a lot into small businesses, and that is very cool. So here's another one, feedly.com. It's a type of content for listening where I can have subscribe certain topics. For example, if I would like to know everything about healing over Zoom or yoga, virtual yoga, I can subscribe to topics and they get me content. Whatever these feedly.com finds, that website. The good thing of it, I see what's trendy. Based on this, I can create content. That's good. I could say, for example, that after 2 years living with COVID, that the fitness industry has big advantage from this and big disadvantage. And I can describe about this from a listing point of view. Yeah, feedly.com was free. That was a question that just came. You can also use the traditional RSS feeds, which is another way how to make that happen. Did research about that. That's a little logo with rounded curves, what you can also have in your website. You can just do a normal Google search. If I want to write about a certain topic, let's say the influence of TikTok on short videos, I would search it in Google. But that's just a moment. What's better is to have a saved search. I, for example, have a saved search. Every day it gets me on the word social listening, just to figure out what people talk about it. I have a Google saved search on my own name to find out if somebody talks something good or bad about me on the internet. You can do a lot of Google saved searches by yourself. Costs nothing, you only need to have a Google account. So, and the purpose of this is also to check what is missing, not just what's out there. Because you would like to find your particular angle of what to write in terms of content. Have your purpose, put all of the vision, mission, values on there. You have your goal, but you want to find your own voice on the content. So you do not want to just repeat what's out there, but have your own take. When you have done that, then of course, based on that, you get into what content types you would like to go. Actually, even which social media channel, it depends. And then the frequency, how often you should do, and the reception within your audience. It doesn't start with putting content out and see if it converts. You start at the top with the purpose, have the goals, find what's out there, what's missing, find your voice, and then you go for it. Let me give you an example. One day, I went to Spofford Street here in Mosman, and I went to the Cafe Spofford, Mrs. Spofford, and I found this gentleman, James, who has been actually, he has been awarded twice the Australian Championship for coffee roasting. And then he served me the coffee, and you see the view. I really love that. But the purpose of this slide is like this. Normally, you would go there for coffee. That's obvious. But you can hear that they also have some cookies. Maybe good or bad ones. If that cafe would not listen into what customers are saying on TripAdvisor, on Google, on Facebook, on Instagram, they cannot make decisions. So then when we get IRRs, you wrote hashtags are handy too, correct. So then, if that cafe starts and make a decision to listen into the audience, They could potentially adapt the menu because they find out, they might have found out that their scones are actually the best way, that people love their scones, but they don't write anything about the rest. So then the cafe will adapt the menu, improve the cookies or scones as example, and then they will get more clients to it. Particularly, they will get those clients which are coming for cookies and scones. At the end, they will need to bundle the coffee to the cookie. So it's really changing totally around that. Without listening, without checking customer mood, without checking content reception, it would never work. So that's an important thing. So my way to choose content, and I think I shared it already a couple of months ago, but let me repeat it again. I call it Trello. Some of you might know Trello boards from a software company which used to be called Trello. That was the logo. In the meantime, acquired by Atlassian, one of the top 3 Australian software vendors. So, but for me, it has nothing to do with that. I have my 6 own letters. So first, the content I want to show should build trust. Therefore, it's important that I add my own opinion, my own view in it to build trust. Because as we know, people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Second is results. Results doesn't mean I achieved 139% of quota. For this, I bought my Lamborghini. But results rather mean that thanks for my service, a client could achieve something what they didn't do without me. Put it to the client, not to myself. As a consequence, it was, of course, the service was good. Enthusiasm, to write that as well, not boring, but really to say how good that has been. Show learning. On purpose, I don't use the E for education because I don't want to be the teacher who says, yes, that's what you have to learn, but rather I share my own learning in my content. I attended that event. I attended that webinar. In particular, there was one, I think 3 years ago in January 2019, somewhere in the WeWork in Sydney, when you shared your way of your funnel journey and how a complicated funnel can look like and how much business you can gain from that. George organized it back then. I remember that. It's a good one. Well done. And the next one would be lifestyle. Again, that's not the Lamborghini, but for lifestyle, I rather mean to share also how the people around me can have their success, to support local business around me, to share how that would work. And then the opportunity. So the last letter, I talk about my own products and service. Only then, not before, on purpose. Followed by 4 Ps. Provide value in all posts. Post once per day, maximum twice, not too often. Pitch never. And produce in batches. That means I would sit on a Sunday to think, what do I want to post during the week following my calendar? Then I produce this. I write 2, 3, 4 posts at once. And then I can schedule them, that I do not need to come at the same time. Yeah, that was that way of consideration of Trello. Third and last point, publish. Let's look how to publish. Question to you. How do you analyze your post performance? Is anyone looking into how your posts are performing? I think, Belle, you recently had, I think it was last Monday, your best performing post ever when it comes to the views, but also nice engagement. So if you don't analyze, you cannot repeat that. But if you do, then you can ask yourself, what made that post stand out? Why people react on it so differently? If it was so revolutionary, or just only an evolution of what you've been doing all the time. So how do you do this? Anyone an idea? So the consequence of an analytics is to do something with it. That means, of course, engaging with the audience accordingly. But first of all, it's about what to do. So I use software which is Hootsuite, not a surprise, to get my analytics. There might be some other ways how to do this. But first of all, when it comes to content, there are 3 ways of content that I believe it's important to know. The first way is to use comments. And LinkedIn, for example, helps you to comment maybe more than one line. And it suggests you sometimes in a sense of you gave a substantial comment. You can turn this comment into your own post, not a bad thing. But for me, commenting is a way how you can build your muscle of crafting good messages and getting into a dialogue with someone. Like here, this example. I wrote something, and then a gentleman called Frank, who added some content on it. I thanked him for that. And then he added something more. And then Wayne saw that and engaged with it. And it went on and on. So there were a couple of dialogues that happened from that. All publicly visible messages on as comments. That's perfect. Commenting helps a lot, because the more people comment on content, the more the content spreads around, because the algorithm believes that apparently that's a good piece of content worth to share. And that is valuable for Facebook, for Instagram, for Twitter, and for LinkedIn. Then creating content, and that means you find a link somewhere, you share it, but ideally you add your own commentary. You see what I've done here? I start with a question, then I added something about it. I have a free line. It's the most critical thing in architecture is free space, so that people need to press on see more. And typically they press see more first before they get into clicking on the link itself of the picture or the post. Important here, for the content to be rated by LinkedIn, it's more important that somebody press on see more over pressing on like. The like is less important than see more. So what do I want to do? I want to have the people press on see more. Or here the other one is creating your own content. That's what many of you are already doing. And otherwise you do, well, you do, I do a lot, and ideally with real life people like this one here with Sydney from Sydney. So there you can see there's no link further. So what type of conversion activities can we actually do? And let me put it based on a post that I've had. So that was the post that I shared a couple of months ago on a Wednesday morning, the good timing, and people have been back at work for September last year. It was about electric vehicles, about England being the first country to require new homes to include chargers. Not my typical topic to talk, but it had a hashtag in there for innovations, which had millions of followers. I tagged the writer, who I didn't know before. Later, she then asked me for a connection. So I created content that I found somewhere on an online magazine, as you saw before. My best mate sent it to me, and I saw it already performed well for him. Okay. I started with the hook. Did we lose that position? A bit provocative. I summarized the key takeaway of that article, that you do not need to read it actually. I kept the post brief enough, plenty of free lines that helps reading and scrolling on mobile. Tag the author. I only use 5 hashtags. Innovation has 39 million followers, a big one. And of course, a nice picture of a Tesla. I had more than 150,000 views, which for me was the highest I've ever had. You see the number of likes, comments, and so on. Lovely. 20 people reshared it. It was good. Then a couple of them from 2nd grade connection, but most from 3rd grade. If this content is relevant to people, perfect. So I connect with them, logically. But many people share this content only, like this example here, only one line. So that is not that much successful than mine, where I summarize the key takeaways in that. So that's this. And then I thought about what I can do with that. And that is the conversion activities. So then within 2 hours of posting, I needed to comment on the first reaction, keep the conversation going. I answer the comments. Then I connect to those people who shared the post. Good one. I found about who they are. So content helped me to broaden my network. Wonderful. And then converting. And that's a critical thing. There was also a question here from comments and moving on to conversation. Have you got advice? Oh, yes. So you can convert it when you see people commenting are the most important one. When they comment, apparently the content tells them something. So then start talking to them, direct message, view their profile, thank them for what they're doing. Thank them for liking your own post, their comment. Figure out if there's anything else or what's their view on it. Try to get a dialogue running over a week or so. You can use video and voice, not just only text-based messages. Don't pitch to them. Maybe share in a direct message something similar to that content. Share your own hashtag if you have one, that they can follow that. There's so many ways what you can do in terms of converting. It is work though. And many professionals in sales, they believe they don't have time for that. But that is work, no doubt. Networking stands for net and working. There's no doubt on that one. So then you come from content, you comment on some stuff, you curate and you create your own content based on the strategy you set in the beginning. And then you want this content to convert, that it fits into the goals that you have. Remember, there was that guy who said they would like to have 120 blog posts in a month. So these need to convert. That's how that would work. And what will you then do when this content is going well? You need to find out who are those people who are watching at it. You can see who comments. You can see who likes it. Good. But those who don't do it, only who view the content, you don't know them. But you can see who are viewing your own profile. Well, you need to have a premium for this, obviously, because it is a service that LinkedIn does. You need to be paid for $39.99 Australian per month. But at least then you can see how many are following or viewing your profile and who they are. And you can engage with them and figure out who of them can potentially be relevant to you. So summarizing this everything together, looks like that. I hope, yeah. So I have more resources of that. That was too fast, sorry for that. One from HubSpot. And they said in their content strategy, and here's this link, and you get the slides, and there are all the links there. How to create a content strategy, define the goal, conduct the persona research, and there's more written about it. Run the content audit, I mentioned that. Choose a content management system. We don't need to think about that by ourselves. Brainstorm content ideas, decide on the type of content, if it's a post, with pictures, without, if it's a poll, if it's a video, and so on, and then publish and manage. That's how HubSpot goes for that. There's so many resources, and I like one guy, a blogger called Neil Patel. Also, here is the link, and how he goes from creating content, analyzing, measuring it, promoting it, publishing, optimizing, and further into success, his way of doing things. Good stuff about creating a content strategy for social media. And don't take it just for social media. It's much broader than that. So therefore, content conversion starts with putting the goals. Content follows that. The personas follow that. It all starts from the very top. And then when you publish and manage your content, you can analyze it accordingly with all the tools there. So what you will receive with the email tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., you will get these slides, and I will put these links out there, including that ebook, separately in the email as well. So, any question from any one of you today? At this stage? Ras, Lady, Andre had to leave, he just wrote.
When I put some in the chat box, which you sort of didn't cover because, or answer because you had so much to cover. Can you have a look at that, please?
Yeah, the last one was about moving, commenting, and moving conversation further. I answered that. Just in the
Further up,
last
I had,
sentences.
I had a bit more further up, like you had some, like when you were talking about people, if I can share this with the audience, people who said that, I had the best post possible last week, and I engaged with all those people who commented, like you said, and I must have only probably got 3 or 4 responses, and that's all. So sometimes that doesn't always lead to heaps of responses from the people. You know what I mean? And then they don't always answer it in a way that's going to help you with your business moving it further.
Yeah, and the devil is in the detail. It has a lot to do with, you need to bring also people into the content and don't find it automatically. The more you have people engaging like you had last week, the more it helps your future content, which is good. And you might want to take the URL of a post and send it directly into people when you see it's not performing so well after a day. Let's say your Monday post today, imagine, would not perform so well, then you would send the post URL and to those who would normally comment on it, or who you feel have something to say about it, and say, hey, look, you might not have seen, but I just posted something that I think might quite well resonate with you. Keen to get your feedback. It's a direct message.
And my other point on that is
not ready. For this, you would need to have a list of maybe 20 people, somewhere written down on a piece of paper, who would likely engage with your content. Let's say those in favor of you. But of course, it only works if also you have them advancing their content.
Yeah, but on that point, that sometimes when you said there were the people who were the second-rate people, and it's good to connect with them earlier, you said it's good to connect with them as first connections if they like a lot. When you say thank you and you try and get a dialogue going with them, I do also know from previous sessions you provide like this, you have to work out whether they're going to be people that are going to help you to move further in your business, or whether they just like you but they're not going to be helpful because they're overseas and they're just being nice to you. And that you haven't really touched, and you haven't touched on that and how you find that out. That's so I find that very difficult.
Understand, this time was about the strategic part of the content, not on the tactics and how to get in there. We can cover in one of the next sessions.
Well, can you make a note of that for your next session? Because sometimes you say that and we overpass it, which is
yes.
And the other thing is about the hashtags that you said in Google search. You said there was hashtags on
Yeah, of course. You can also put hashtags and search for them in Google. And then you can find wherever that hashtag has been covered, in a blog post, on a website, on a social media, on a Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter where. Hashtags work everywhere.
So you mean you put a hashtag and then the topic and then you search that way, just to as a way of narrowing your search. Is that what you meant by that?
Yes, that's what the hashtags are for.
Also,
Yep.
Also, Gareth, if you don't mind, if I can answer that as well. The hashtags also, you can actually, when you do a Google search for the hashtag, and there's sites out there that actually tell you how many people are using that hashtag. So you want to be able to use hashtags that has a great number of people using it. And so what you do is at the end of your feed, whether it be LinkedIn, whether it be Facebook, you place that hashtag. And in particular in LinkedIn, since we're talking about LinkedIn, is LinkedIn has its own hashtag. And so when you do a search on LinkedIn hashtag, you can say, like, for instance, in digital marketing, it may be digital marketing strategies has 10,000 people who've used that hashtag, which means that when you put the hashtag in your LinkedIn profile, in your LinkedIn feed, those 10,000 people, it'll appear in their list because they've already not subscribed, but they've already said that they want anything in relation to this hashtag to appear in their feed.
Right.
Does that make sense? So,
so in it from a LinkedIn, it makes sense from a LinkedIn. I'm not an expert on Google in it, but getting it to LinkedIn, which is what is going to specialty here tonight, is
exactly.
When you mention that, you mean like you put a post up and you might the one I put up today, which was not my success post. It was much more back to my average views and so on. I put something in about balance. I was talking about balance at work, and I put balance as one, and then I put that as a hashtag. So you're saying people who use that as hashtag, it'll come up quite it'll come up frequently.
Yes, if they've subscribed to that hashtag, like you'll see that when you open up the LinkedIn on the left-hand side of your profile page, you'll see the hashtags you've actually subscribed to. So what we generally do is we generally do a search for that subject matter in the feed that we're speaking about and find the hashtags that matches with a great number of people that are actually linked to it. And that's what Gunnar was saying, is you can go to Google, do a search for LinkedIn and then the name of the hashtag. or even just LinkedIn hashtag, it'll come up with some sites that'll tell you the number of people that are subscribed to those hashtags. And so what you do is you go to those sites, you type in the subject matter you're dealing with in your feed, and it'll say these are the top 4 or top 10 hashtags that people are using for that subject matter. So you take probably, I wouldn't go any more than 3 to 4 and place that in there. Now, the other thing I would recommend is one.
Thank you for that, Raz. It's all right. I appreciate very much what you said. I didn't mean it to become all about the hashtags, but thank you so much.
No,
Today,
it's good to know
it was, thanks, Raz, a lot. Today it was more about the general strategy, not tactics.
Yeah,
Not about how to take it from very top into what to do. And these topics we can do at another session, on which then we please don't ask for the strategy. In 1 hour, you cannot do the whole thing where Raz
Sorry, Ghana.
I didn't mean it to go like that.
No,
sorry,
but let's go
No,
further.
it's all good.
What I would like to share further, but thanks for the question and the engagement, I really appreciate.
Thank you, Raz.
How then normally, because what I observe is, and Raz, you sure can see this as well, that many people in small business particular, they see challenges, not only LinkedIn, but a bit broader, particularly maybe even Twitter, to be overcautious, overwhelmed, also overthinking how that all would work or not work. And that is often a very, very tricky thing, how to get that done. So therefore,
well, if I can just quickly just add this one thing, that is
yes,
it's exactly what you spoke about today. And I wrote about this on LinkedIn about digital splatter. A lot of people just do anything and everything, and then they wonder why it's not working. And what you spoke about today is spot on. You need to have a strategy that you can align to your social media. So if you have the strategy, you know what your goals are, you know what subject matter you're going to deal with, you know what your niche is, use that and create a strategy around the feeds you're going to do. Because what a lot of people do is they'll do feeds on multiple subjects. Some of them may not be associated with what they're doing. And so your ideal customers, sometimes when they're reading your feed, may get confused going, I don't know exactly what you do. And I think what you did today was perfect, trying to understand all that and saying there is a strategy in your content that needs to be applied. I hope that makes sense.
Yep, it does. It does. So when people are this over and over, so what I can help on that one, particularly those who might require some kind of assistance. So particularly for LinkedIn, I run discovery calls, and that often is a good starting point to get into the topic of what would be possible on the very concrete situations, and typically 30 minutes for free. And then I can help in working on the LinkedIn profile to go from CV style into a storytelling, typically with an advisory, but I can even create complete profiles. But mostly I help in refining what's already there and simply refresh it for 2022. And also I have one online course, which I call Organic LinkedIn, enhancing the knowledge and get to the next level, which looks into 4 topics, which is how to complete your LinkedIn, how to connect, what about content, and how to convert. So all things that we covered a little bit today, but that goes, of course, much deeper. And that course overall comes, see prices there above. And a bit of tools behind there. And normally the course is 97 Aussie dollars. The LinkedIn profile refresh, as that is flavor, is 197. But as we are in the beginning of the year and many are struggling, really get started well. So then I make 197 for both for this month of February coming. That means everyone who I can help on the profile refresh also gets the online course access for free, which has 2 hours video and everything around there. So I think that makes sense to connect the 2 things together, the course and the profile refresh. So that's basically a bundle for that. So then thanks also for those who engage on the content, on the question, Lady, Olin, Andre, Rasbel, particular. So then thank you for that. And all the others who couldn't make it today, but they will get the recording and the slides for today. So thanks for joining. If any further questions, please reach out to me. You have all my details here, phone, email, website, my Facebook group with more than 600 members. Why do I have the group not on LinkedIn, but on Facebook? Because, as I mentioned, only 31% of people who are on Facebook are also on LinkedIn. So that direction, I would like to get more in using LinkedIn properly. Well, and I would not find them on LinkedIn because that's not where they hang out actively. So that's how that works. Looking forward to hearing back from you. Sorry for getting over by 5 minutes. So sorry for this, but many thanks
No,
for
so-
joining.
thank you. That was me that went over. My
No,
apologies.
fine, no problem, no problem. Thanks for the questions. Food for thought for one of the next sessions.
Thank you, Gunnar.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.